Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where who knows where the camera is, but it's somewhere. But more importantly, I was thinking of just who is the best band of all time. And I thought, well, that's rather a subjective decision, so I'll let them decide for me. And luckily, some of the finest musicians to ever take to the stage decided exactly that when they formed a project, a supergroup known as The Best, which did a one-off performance, well, several, but for a one-off sort of set of performances in Japan in late 1990. So still very much an 80s vibe, but really a timeless vibe because this supergroup had the following members. On bass, the wonderful John Entwistle, one of the finest bass guitarists ever. You could argue that he invented how to play the modern rocky bass guitar, but he was much more than a rock musician. He could play classical, he could play jazz fusion, he could do anything. Also on stage was the wonderful Joe Walsh. Life's been good to him so far, and he, of course, was in fine form here. Keith Emerson, who I got to meet several times before his tragic death. Very, very nice guy, but of course, the virtuoso of keyboards that we know and love. On drums, Simon Phillips, who's played with pardon me, who's played with everyone. He's played with Stanley Clarke. He's played with Toto. He's played with Camel. He's played with Phil Manzanera, with Jeff Beck, with Jack Bruce, with Joe Satriani, with John Anderson of Yes, John Lord of Deep Purple. He's even played on a Judas Priest album. He's played on a Frank Zappa project, the El Shanker record, Touch Me There, from Shankar to Shanker. It's a Simpsons joke in there. He's played in the Michael Schenker Group, wonderful guitar player. Mike Oldfield of Tubular Bells fame. The list could go on, and he's on the drums. And finally, the man who made me remember this band from 1990, Jeff Skunk Baxter. And the reason that he's on my mind is that the great Rick Beato just did an interview with him, and it's one of the finest of the many fine interviews that Rick Beato has done because Jeff is a wellspring of musical knowledge and knowledge about other subjects, and a wonderful musician who's been a part of some very, very interesting bands, particularly Steely Dan when they were still kind of sort of a band, and of course the Doobie Brothers. So what is the set list that this band played? I'm just going to give it to you straight because while it's somewhat out of print, the recording is all over YouTube, the live recording of this band. And so they played kind of what you would have expected. No crazy surprises, just the good stuff. So, Life in the Fast Lane, that's a hat tip to Joe Walsh. My Wife, John Entwistle's song from Who's Next. Bodhisattva, which Jeff Skunk Baxter played on as a member of Steely Dan. Fanfare for the Common Man, Eric Copeland. Of course, ELP did it on their Works album. Back to Steely Dan with Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Rocky Mountain Way, back to Joe Walsh. Too Late the Hero, a wonderful, really good solo track by John Entwistle. You should definitely check that out either on the album of the same name or on The Best, if you will. Creole Dance and Keith Emerson solo, wonderful work. Then a medley of ELP stuff, including America and Rondo. Boris the Spider, great Who song with John Entwistle on vocals. Back to Steely Dan with Reelin' in the Years. And finally, a bit of Doobie Brothers with Taking It to the Streets. If that doesn't wet your whistle for this concert, I do not know what will. Because they called themselves the best because they really were really, really, really good. Again, a lot of these types of supergroups are really, their build is the best, but they sometimes fail to deliver because just putting really talented people on stage together doesn't guarantee musical chemistry, doesn't guarantee that they won't, be screaming at each other on stage. But with this set of musicians, it just really worked, and they're all really, really at the height of their powers. So thanks to Jeff Skunk Baxter and Rick Beato for putting this thought back in my head. Well done them, and well done you if you go to YouTube and watch this today or tomorrow or any other time. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.